One bright afternoon, the villagers saw a familiar figure walking down the dusty path that led to the market. At first, they smiled and called out her name, Adana, daughter of Chief Okeke, the pride of our village. But to their surprise, the young woman did not smile or wave, as Adana always did. Her face was hard, her steps heavy, and her eyes cold. As she passed, Mama Nkem, an elderly woman with a bent back, greeted her kindly. My daughter, how are your parents? Instead of answering, the girl stopped, frowned deeply, and barked. Old woman, who gave you the right to question me? Then, before anyone could understand what was happening, she pushed Mama Nkem so hard that the poor woman almost fell into the dust. The villagers gasped. Some shouted, Ha! Is this not Adana? What has gotten into her? Others whispered, Impossible. Adana would never do such a thing. Did you not see her helping to fetch water for elders just last week? Confusion filled the air as the girl stormed away, her wrapper sweeping the ground angrily, leaving behind shocked faces and murmuring tongues. By evening, the youths of the village gathered at the compound of Chief Okeke, Adana's father. Their voices were hot with anger and disbelief. Chief, something strange has happened, one of them began. We saw your daughter today at the market path, but she behaved in a way no one has ever seen. She refused greetings and even pushed Mama Ikem to the ground. Chief Okeke's eyes widened, his heart pounding. My daughter, Adana, impossible. She is the joy of my old age. She has never raised her hand against anyone. Another youth stepped forward, shaking his head. Chief, we all saw her with our own eyes. It was her face, her height, her walk. It was Adana. But then, one of the elders, who had been silent all along, cleared his throat and said slowly, No, something is not right here. Adana has been in the house since morning. You know, she's preparing for her marriage introduction. Please, my people, go home. We will get to the root of this. It was afternoon in the village, and the sound of drums could be heard from afar. Chief Okeke's compound was alive with activity because a young man had come with his kinsmen to seek Adana's hand in marriage. The young man's name was Obinna. He was tall, handsome, and strong. He came from a good family, and everyone whispered that he would make a fine husband. The maidens giggled as they peeped through the fences, saying, Adana is truly blessed. Every good thing comes to her. Adana, the real one, sat quietly in her room, her heart beating fast. She smiled shyly as her mother adjusted her wrapper and whispered, My daughter, today may be the beginning of your joy. Be humble, be gentle, and let the gods favor you. But unknown to her, as she closed her eyes to pray, a strange wind blew softly into the room. Her eyelids grew heavy, and before she could say another word, she fell into a deep sleep. At that very moment, the river child, her twin in face but not in spirit, slipped into the compound. Her eyes were sharp, like a knife, and her smile carried no warmth. She tied her wrapper firmly, raised her chin proudly, and walked out to meet the visitors as though she were Adana herself. At first, the people rejoiced. See how beautiful she looks, they said. Obina smiled, but his smile quickly faded. For when the food was served, the false Adana threw the plate at one of the women, shouting, Do you want to poison me? Gasps filled the air. Obina's people were shocked. Is this how Adana behaves? One of them whispered. When Obinna tried to speak gently to her, the false Adana snapped. And who are you to tell me what to do? If you don't like me, go back to your father's house. That afternoon, Obinna left with his kinsmen, their faces filled with anger and shame. We came for a wife, not a wild woman, they muttered as they walked away. Moments later, the real Adana woke up, stretching her arms. She came out, smiling, only to see her mother's face covered in tears and her father sitting in silence like a broken man. Adana, Mama said, her voice trembling. What came over you earlier? You have brought shame to this family. Obina swore never to return. Adana's mouth fell open. Her hands shook. Mama, what are you saying? I have been in my room throughout. I never saw Obina. But no one believed her. And from that day, whispers began to follow her wherever she went. Not long after Obina left, another suitor came. His name was Chike, the son of a wealthy trader from a faraway town. He brought with him goats, baskets of yams, palm oil, and even a small cow as bride price. The whole village gathered to see such wealth. Chifukeke's chest swelled with pride. Surely the gods still favor my daughter, he thought. Adana too was filled with hope. Maybe this time things would be different. Maybe the shame of Obina's visit would be washed away. But just as before, the same strange wind entered Adana's room. Her eyes grew heavy, and she slipped into another deep sleep. The false Adana came again, walking boldly into the gathering. Her eyes shone with pride, but her heart carried only malice. She sat before Chike and his family, but instead of thanking them for their gifts, she laughed scornfully. Is this all you brought? She sneered, kicking one of the baskets of yams. Do you think I am a hungry maiden from the bush? Take your goat and go. My father's daughter is worth more than this. Gasps filled the air once more. Chief Okeke nearly choked on his kola nuts. Chike's mother clutched her chest in disbelief. The young man's face turned red with anger. Your daughter is proud and rude, Chike's father declared. She is not fit to be a wife. May the gods judge these insults. With that, Chike and his people carried their gifts away, leaving behind a compound filled with shame. When the real Adana woke up moments later, she found her parents weeping again. Her mother wailed, My daughter, what evil spirit has possessed you? 2 suitors in a row, and you chased them away with your own mouth. Adana cried bitterly. She swore she had never spoken such words, but the more she spoke, the less anyone believed her. Soon, the villagers began to murmur, Adana has changed, they whispered in the marketplace. Perhaps her goodness was only a mask. Perhaps the gods have cursed her. The river child smiled in silence, her vengeance growing stronger each day. One hot afternoon, Adana tied her basket on her head and walked down the dusty path that led to the market. Her wrapper swayed gently as she walked, and though she tried to smile, her heart was heavy. When she reached the market square, the voices of young girls rose in laughter. They pointed at her as she passed. See Adana, one of them shouted, the proud maiden who chases away suitors like flies. Another girl clapped her hands mockingly. Hey, yeah, she thinks she's too beautiful for any man. Soon, she will grow old and remain in her father's house. The girls burst into loud laughter, singing cruel songs that pierced Adana's heart. Even some women at their stores shook their heads and muttered, Such shame! Who will marry a girl with a sharp tongue? Adana could not bear it. Her eyes filled with tears, and before she could even buy what she came for, she dropped her basket and ran back home. She entered the compound sobbing, her voice trembling, as she called, "Mama, Papa, I don't understand what is happening to me. Why does everyone suddenly hate me? Why do they speak evil things I never said?" Her mother rushed to her side, holding her tightly. "My child, wipe your tears. You are not alone. Even I was mocked in the market yesterday. They called me the mother of a rude daughter. They spat near my stall, saying no one will buy from me again." Chief Okeke's voice was heavy as he added, "It is not only you, my daughter. At the elders' meeting, they laughed at me too. They said, 'Chief Okeke, your tongue used to be respected, but how can a man who cannot control his own child control a whole village?'" Adana fell to the ground weeping. "What have I done, Papa? What have I done, Mama? The gods know I am innocent." Her father lifted her gently and spoke with firm hope. "Do not cry anymore, Adana. The tongue of the villagers is sharp, but it will soon be silenced. When the third suitor comes and marries you, all of them will swallow their words. The truth always rises like the sun." Adana nodded slowly, wiping her eyes, but deep inside, her heart trembled. She knew something strange was walking in her shadow. The sun had barely risen when the sound of talking drums echoed across the village. The news spread like wildfire. A rich young farmer from a faraway land had come to seek Adana's hand in marriage. Men left their farms, women abandoned their market stalls, and people ran barefoot to Chief Okeke's compound. Everyone wanted to see if Adana would finally prove herself, or if trouble would once again scatter the suitor away. Chief Okeke stood tall at the entrance of his compound, his staff of authority in his hand. Mama Adana spread mats under the shade of the big iroko tree, her heart beating fast. Adana herself was dressed in her finest wrapper, her hair neatly plaited, and beads glowed around her neck. She tried to smile, but her palms were cold with fear. The suitor arrived with his kinsmen, carrying pots of palm wine, yams, and gifts. He was a tall, handsome man, and his voice was calm like flowing water. When he spoke, even the birds seemed to pause. "Great Chief Okeke," he said with respect, "I have heard of your daughter's beauty and her kind heart. I have come to marry her and take her as my wife." The villagers clapped their hands and whispered among themselves, "At last, if this one succeeds, the shame of the past will be washed away." But just as the talks began, something strange happened. Adana's eyes grew heavy, her body felt weak, and before she could speak, she slumped quietly into a deep sleep. Moments later, another Adana stepped forward, the one with a hard face and cold eyes. She looked like the same Adana, but her spirit was bitter. The villagers gasped, for to them, it was still Adana standing. When the suitor smiled at her, she spat on the ground before him. "So, you are the one they say wants to marry me. Keep your yams, keep your palm wine, and carry your ugly face back to where you came from." The suitor's eyes widened in shock. His kinsmen murmured angrily. The villagers covered their mouths in disbelief. "Is this not Adana, the pride of the village?" one old woman whispered. "What kind of daughter speaks like this?" The suitor's heart hardened. "If this is the way of your daughter, Chief Okeke, then I cannot marry her. A woman without respect will bring shame to her husband's home." He picked up his gifts and stormed out of the compound with his people. At that very moment, the real Adana woke up in her room. She looked around, confused, and saw the angry faces of the villagers. What happened? Why is everyone looking at me this way? But nobody answered. They only shook their heads and murmured, "The girl has destroyed her own destiny." Chi Okeke bowed his head in shame. Mama Adana wept silently, and the whispers of the villagers rose louder than the sound of the drums. "Adana is cursed.